For nearly 2,000 years, one question has echoed through the halls of Christianity, dividing churches, sparking reformations, and defining the very soul of the faith. How is a person saved? Is it a free gift received by faith alone, as Protestant reformers like Martin Luther declared? Or is it a journey of faith completed by good works, as the Catholic and Orthodox traditions have taught for centuries? This isn't just some dusty theological debate. It shapes how billions of people understand God, their purpose, and their ultimate destiny. And even today, it remains one of the most explosive issues in Christian history. Let's start at the source. In the New Testament, we find what looks like a contradiction. The Apostle Paul writes to the Ephesians, "For by grace you have been saved through faith. It is the gift of God, not by works, so that no one may boast." For Paul, salvation is pure grace, unearned, undeserved, and impossible to achieve through human effort. Faith, or pistis in Greek, is the channel for God's righteousness. But then, in the same New Testament, the Apostle James says, "You see then that a person is justified by works, and not by faith alone." He famously adds that faith without works is dead. So what's going on here? Are Paul and James in conflict? Or are they revealing two sides of the same divine mystery? For the earliest leaders of the church fathers, faith and works were like two wings of a bird. They worked together in harmony. Clement of Rome, Ignatius, Irenaeus, they all taught that salvation begins with God's grace, but it must be lived out through obedience and acts of love. Think of it this way. Faith is the seed, and good works are the fruit that proves the seed was alive. One of the greatest early theologians, Augustine of Hippo, wrestled with this. He taught that God's grace always comes first. It awakens our will to even seek Him. But he also insisted that this grace doesn't override our free will. It restores it. We are empowered by grace to act, to obey, and to love. It was this delicate balance between God as absolute grace and human responsibility that would later ignite the Protestant Reformation. Fast forward to the 16th century. Europe is in chaos. The church is immensely powerful, and according to many, corrupt. You could buy indulgences to shorten time in purgatory, go on prescribed pilgrimages, and perform various penances, all in the name of securing your salvation. It was a system that looked a lot like earning your way to heaven. Then a German monk named Martin Luther was studying the book of Romans. He came across the line, "The righteous shall live by faith." And for Luther, everything changed. He felt the pure gospel had been buried under centuries of human traditions. Salvation, he thundered, cannot be bought, earned, or merited. It is a free gift given to sinners who don't deserve it. We are justified, declared righteous in God's eyes by faith alone, because of what Christ did on the cross. Solified. Faith alone became the rallying cry of the Reformation. No ritual, no sacrament, no good deed could add to Christ's finished work. But for the Catholic Church, this was heresy. It seemed to attack not just the Church's authority, but the very moral foundation of Christianity. In 1545, the Church convened the Council of Trent to issue its official response. The Council agreed that salvation begins with grace, but they declared that true faith must be perfected by works of love. In fact, they issued a formal decree. If anyone says that the sinner is justified by faith alone, let him be anathema, which means let him be accursed. For Catholicism, justification isn't a one-time event, but a lifelong process of transformation. Grace, faith, and our cooperation with the Holy Spirit all work together. So while the Reformers shouted sola fide, the Catholics responded with fides caritate formata, faith formed by love. Faith without love, they argued, isn't saving faith at all. And this brings us to the core of the controversy that still divides Christians. Is salvation a single moment of trust, or is it a lifelong journey of transformation? For most Protestants, Lutherans, Calvinists, and evangelicals, justification is a legal act. God looks at a believer, and instead of their sin, he sees Christ's perfect righteousness. He legally declares them not guilty. Good works are seen as the natural and necessary evidence of that new status, but they don't contribute to it. But for Catholics and Orthodox Christians, justification is both a legal declaration and a real internal transformation. Grace doesn't just cover sin, it begins to heal it. Salvation isn't just being declared righteous. It's about being made righteous over time. For them, a faith that doesn't involve the sacraments, acts of mercy, and a life of self-denial is incomplete. The accusations fly both ways. Some Protestants accuse Catholics of teaching salvation by works, as if you could earn heaven like a paycheck. But the Catholic Church has always insisted that every good work is only possible because of God's grace. You don't earn grace. Grace empowers you to do good. On the other hand, some Catholics accuse Protestants of promoting a cheap grace, a get-out-of-hell-free card that demands no real change, no holiness, and no obedience. But Protestants would fire back that a genuine, saving faith will always produce good works, not as a payment for salvation, but as the proof of it. So who's right? Let's go back to the Bible for a moment. Paul himself writes in Philippians, "Work out your salvation with fear and trembling, for it is God who works in you." There's the paradox right there. We work because God is at work in us. Grace is the root, and our obedience is the flower. Perhaps the real tension isn't between faith and works, but between a grace that only declares and a grace that truly transforms. If both sides agree that we are saved by grace alone, the key question is, what does that grace do? Over the centuries, many have tried to build a bridge. John Wesley, the founder of Methodism, taught that faith is the door to salvation, but holy living, or sanctification, is the hallway we must walk down. He saw salvation as both an instant event and a lifelong process. More recently, in 1999, the Catholic Church and the Lutheran World Federation signed a joint declaration on the doctrine of justification. They agreed that we are saved by grace through faith, and that this faith is active in love. It was a huge step, but the old suspicions and different ways of framing the issue still remain. Now, let's get a little controversial. What if the very terms of the debate, faith versus works, are flawed? What if the real biblical concept is faithfulness? In the original Hebrew, the word for faith, emuna, means loyalty, steadfastness, and covenantal allegiance. It's a relational term. So when Paul says we are justified by faith, he might be saying we are made right with God through our active, loyal trust in Him. In this view, works aren't something you add to faith. They are the natural expression of what a living, loyal faith looks like. Faith that doesn't act isn't real faith, and works that don't come from trust are just dead religion. But this raises some difficult, haunting questions. If salvation is a free gift, what about the thief on the cross, who had no time to perform good works? And if salvation requires works, How many are enough? Can a lifetime of good deeds be wiped out by one final mistake? These are the questions that keep theologians up at night. Ultimately, both Protestants and Catholics stand on common ground. We are saved by God's unmerited love shown to us in Jesus Christ. The disagreement is over how that grace works in us. Is it imputed like a legal status? Or is it infused like a medicine that heals us from the inside out? Maybe the deepest truth isn't found in choosing a side, but in holding the paradox. Grace both declares us righteous and begins to make us righteous. Faith both receives a gift and responds with action. The most important question isn't whether faith or works save us, but whether our lives in their entirety reveal the saving faith we claim to have. So, what do you think? Is salvation a free gift accepted in a moment of belief? Or is it a divine partnership where faith has to be proven by love and obedience? Was Luther a hero who recovered the gospel, or did the Council of Trent preserve a more complete truth? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. This isn't just theology. It's about how we live, what we trust, and who we believe God to be. Thanks for watching, and if you found this interesting, please like and subscribe for more deep dives into the ideas that shape our world.